Oh, hello there, everybody. Welcome and welcome back to USA Late Night Live here with your host, Forrest, you at USA EFC on all socials. And with me, as always, is Quinn. Is Quinn.
Bezazazazazana.
She took the words out of my mouth. It is lovely to be back. Had a little bit of an abscondence. Obviously, we are people with lives. So it is what it is. But here we are, and we are back. Quinn, what did you do with your time away from the show?
Oh man, I've been traveling. I've just been traveling in Texas and Florida and Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
Leaving for Mexico Saturday morning. It just never ends. 'Tis the
Yeah,
season. What about
yeah.
you?
Me, working. Yeah, same, except, traveling 20 minutes away to Severna Park or, downtown Annapolis. Those are my two main spots. In Crofton sometimes, Edgewater, all the fancy places.
All the
Um,
fancy places.
Broadneck, I guess Cape St. Clair, I should count that too. And then Odenton for yeah.
Just a few little, just a
Yeah,
few little jaunts.
few little jaunts, forays across the great eastern seaboard of Maryland. Anyways, folks, we are back today. We are here to talk Toffees and to take this terrifying tour of the. I can't keep going with the T alliteration. Um, we are here to talk about the 7 game unbeaten run that we have, and I think what we decided to do for the show today, now that the break is about to be over, now that we have Wolves coming up on Saturday, is to talk about the players on this 7 game unbeaten run and kind of give our breakdown of how each one has performed, who has stepped up since Moyes came in, who has progressed, who has room for improvement, etc. So here's kind of how we're going to be talking about each player. Going to give them a rating on 1 to 10 over the 7 game stretch. We're going to give their best performance in a game. So what game we feel that that particular player performed best in. We're going to give their quote unquote worst performance. It's hard to say worst performance considering we haven't lost. So you don't want to. I don't want to necessarily label it with that moniker. We're going to talk about who we think the best player of this run has been, who's been the most improved since Moyes came in, and what player we think we should watch, that y'all should watch uh, over the remaining games of the season. So, Quinn, without further ado, let's get right into this because I know we both have to be up pretty early tomorrow.
Yes, we do.
So, starting at the back, with Jordan Pickford. Quinn, what have you made of Jordan Pickford since Moyes came back in, and over this 7 game run, I should say?
Yeah, I think he's been pretty consistent. I think he's been pretty consistent, is how I would describe his. I would even say his season after the first few games. Like first few games aside, once he hit his stride, overall pretty consistent. But since Moyes has come in, same. A little bit of a bummer of lack of clean sheets. Some goals are on him. Some I would say he has nothing really to do. Like couldn't do too much, but I'd say he's been pretty consistent. Maybe a 7.5 out of 10 if you average all the games. 8 out of 10, not too bad. Sure. Not phenomenal, but not a problem.
What game do you think he was best in?
It's tough. It's tough to now I have to start thinking through.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got to look at all the matches.
I know that's
and see them in front of my face.
Yeah. Well, while you look, I can talk. Yeah, I think again he's been his consistent self. Yeah, the lack of clean sheets kind of sucks. I think that is probably just a symptom of the way we're playing now. We're just a little bit more open, but at the same time, I think most of the goals we've conceded since Moyes came back have been from some individual errors, from some fairly light defending. Getting mixed up at the back. I will put, and I'll go ahead and talk about his worst performance. It was that Tottenham game, in my opinion. Both those goals that Tottenham scored on Pickford, in my opinion. First one, he comes out of his goal and then never really recovers, and it probably just wasn't the right decision. But you get he's trying to close down the angle on Madison at the time. And the second one, he just watches the ball, gets caught ball watching, gets into the back post for Charles and scores. Other than that, I wouldn't say any of his goals were really his fault. You think back to like the Derby. Yeah, I mean maybe he could have saved that header from McAllister, but it was a really good header. It's pinpoint and it really, I'm sure he thought, oh, that's not going in, and it just sneaks it on. And then The solid goal. I mean, look, it's probably weak defending more than anything. Best performance for me, probably Brighton away. Big away win, clean sheet, very important. I don't think they had many shots on target per se, but he didn't make it easy for him as the rest of the defense did.
Yeah, I think my best game for him would be Crystal Palace. Think about a few
yeah.
saves that he made in the Palace game.
Yep. Yeah, cool. All right. And then worst performance. I don't know if you had anything different from mine.
Yeah, I agree.
Cool. So Vitaly Mikolenko. My rating for Pickford, I'd say 7 out of 10, 7.5 out of 10 as well. I think that's a good rating. I don't think he's quite, the lack of clean sheets quite hasn't gotten him to an 8 or a 9, but excuse me, still good overall. Vitaly Mikolenko has really been one of those players that's improved quite a bit under Moyes. He's been given a license to get forward. He's been given an injection of confidence, which I think is really important for him. Because he is a bit of a confidence player. You can see that in some of his nervousness when he's on the ball. But he was building up a good partnership with Ndai, just because Ndai can bring it in forward and find him on the overlap, or they can just have some interplay and get Ndai in a little bit more. So having to have Harrison there has probably forced him to play a little bit more conservative. But at the same time, he got his first assist against Brentford, and he's looked like a much better and more composed left back than what we've seen from him this season. I would say 7 out of 10 as well for Vitaly. As far as his best performance, I'd probably lay it on like the Brentford game because he got an assist. I think he was good against Tottenham. I think he was good against Brighton defensively. I think he did really well in the derby. It's shutting down Salah as much as he could. I think the issue with Mo Salah right now is he's just probably the best player in the world. Mm-hmm. I don't like saying that, but I do think Mo Salah is far and away the best player in the world. Probably deserves a Ballon d'Or. If he doesn't win it, that just means that, I don't know, he's never going to play for Real Madrid. Which, to be fair, like Rodri won it, Vinicius didn't. They'll give it to Vinicius just to make him feel better.
Next thing you know, Liverpool will be boycotting the Ballon d'Or.
Yeah, right. Literally, his worst performance. Tough to say. You might look at like the United game. I think that's probably going to end up being quite a few players' worst performances just because of the way we kind of collapsed in the second half. It was a game we should have probably won 3-0, 4-0. I can't remember him making any individual errors in that game, nor against Brentford. But I would probably lay that at his feet as his quote-unquote worst performance in this run so far.
Yeah, I think that were Palace. I feel like he didn't have the best game against Palace either. Yeah. I would say his best game was probably Brentford as well. Played well against Brighton back when we played Brighton, I think. I'd probably give him a 7 out of 10. I do think he's on the short list for most improved under Moyes versus where he was at. Finishing up his Deitch, the Deitch range.
The Deitch dilemma. The Deitch diarrhea dilemma of delinquency. Hated it.
Yeah, he's just played with so much more confidence, which we've seen in seasons for him in the past, and it's just good to see it back after like a serious dip in.
I agree.
In form and in confidence. So.
Agree. So next on our list is Mr. Jake O'Brien. Mr. Jake O'Brien, who's played barely any minutes this season under Sean Dyche, came in and has basically been a regular starter under David Moyes since the Tottenham game. Not basically, he has been a regular starter under Moyes. He has finally had the opportunity to come in and show what he's about, having been a multi-million, 15 million, 17 million pound signing in the summer for us, who ended up being a fourth choice center back behind Michael Keane-Tarkowski, Branthwaite, Julian Lescott, Sylvan Distin, and everybody else who's ever played for the club, because it just never seemed like he was ever going to get a chance under Sean Dyche. And he's come out and said multiple times, I was upset, I was frustrated. I'm sure there was some consideration of leaving in January if he really needed the playing time. I don't think he was even making the Ireland squad, which is really tough for a player because that's a squad that any Irish Premier League player should probably be making. So yeah, he's been able to come in and have a lot of really solid performances, coming up against some like really good wingers and some good teams. He's come in as a 6'6" center back playing at right back and really showed his ability on the ball, off the ball, defensively. Not so much going forward, other than the goal he scored against Brentford, not so much going forward, but
Mhm.
that's fine because he's there to be a solid defensive presence on that right side. Um, I would say an 8 out of 10 for Jake just because he's come in. I don't think he's really put a foot wrong. I don't think he's made too many mistakes. I look at like that Palace goal. I wouldn't put that on Jake. I'd put that on Tarkovsky because he just jumps on top of him, like literally
Sure.
gets on his shoulders and jumps on him. But whatever, like we won the game, so there's no use looking back in a negative way. His best performance, I'm going to say Brentford because he scored again. Scoring
Yep.
takes you all the way through. I thought again was very good against Brighton. Was good against Palace. Good in just about every game so far. And under Moyes, worst performance. It's a tough one. I might say the Derby. Um, I think that's just a really tough one coming up against Gakpo Ludia, but he did a really good job against Gakpo. I don't think he ever had a sniff. And then who came on? Jota came on. It's tough. It's tough to pick one out. Again, I might even look at the United game because again, it's just we just collapsed. At the same time,
Mhm.
it got given to United too. The referee decided fit to make sure he could do what he could to give United a chance to come back in the game. But yeah, overall, very very solid and good to see Jake in the team.
Yeah, I agree with almost everything. I'd probably give him a 7 out of 10. Um, but from coming off of not playing, I would say
That's why I gave
he's
him an
been
eight
great.
because
Yeah, yeah. So I don't disagree with your reasoning at all. Um, yeah, it was great to see him score. Great to see him.
didn't even
I
really
would,
celebrate, did he? He was just kind of like he just
no,
like looked relieved. He was like,
yeah,
like
but it was
finally,
great.
yeah.
So that was a good look for me. I think United was a tough game for a lot of because of the collapse. It's hard to say that was a great game for anyone
Agree. Yep.
because the second half, which is such a bummer, regardless of how it happened. Because,
Excuse me. Jeez.
but yeah, it's just been. I think for him, it's just been great to watch him come in from seeing almost no minutes at all to being. He started every game except the Villa game, but he started all 7 of the unbeaten run. So that's
Yep.
great. It's great.
Yep. It's I think it takes him very far and building his reputation as a Premier League player. And I'm happy that he plays for Everton, and I look forward to him getting the opportunity to play at center back and in the future. And we can have an actual right back on that side and have some attacking impetus and some balance in the team. Not that the team is necessarily unbalanced, but having a center back at right back, is kind of neither here nor there. It's good defensive cover, but you
Yep.
you lose that license to go forward and kind of it can make you a little more one dimensional as a team. Uh, Next up, Mr. James Tarkovsky, club captain. Uh, James has had a tough season. I think he has started his decline as a player just due to age. His decision making has been a little suspect at times this season. Probably more than suspect and probably more than a few times. Um, I think he's played reasonably well under Moyes. I think he's had the opportunity to play with more defensive minded players with Jake O'Brien and Branthwaite having a bit of a revitalization. I think he's played well. I would probably give him like a 6 out of 10 because he still continues to have those mistakes in his game. You look at the Palace goal that we referenced earlier. He jumps on O'Brien, whether that's him making a shout to O'Brien and O'Brien not hearing, or he just decided to just take it on his own over top of
Mhm.
O'Brien. I think either way, he probably should have just let that play out. Regardless, um,
Yeah.
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 Best performance, the Derby. So.
Mhm.
Come on, he scored.
I did think he played great against Leicester. I think I'd throw
Yeah,
that in there as well.
sure. Yeah.
But
The
yeah,
Leicester game.
I mean the goal. How can you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it has to be, man. That's Everton folklore right there.
Yeah.
Worst game. I don't know. Say United. We'll just kind of lump on
United.
United
United is my
at the
vote.
end. Make it the easy one.
Yeah.
Yeah. What'd you
I
think
think
of James?
my gosh, 6.5 would be like my rating for James. How I
Sure.
would describe Tarkovsky is like moments. It's moments of greatness and moments of absolute
Madness.
despair. It's
Yeah.
just like, and then there's like consistency. It's almost like in a different way. I'm not comparing them in a they're not in the same level, but like John Stones, where John Stones just had a mistake in
Mm,
him so frequently where it's like it leads to a goal. And then he plays great or he's like not, but it's like, ooh,
sure.
one lack of concentration when he was when he first signed with us.
Yep.
And that's how it feels with like Tarky sometimes. It's just like with, I would say, a lower average of where he performs, obviously, than John. But yeah, the moments are just like, man.
It hurts us.
You
It
just have,
typically hurts us.
yes. And you're like, man, you're better than this. But you're right. I think it has started like his decline of aging and just wear and tear. He played every game.
Yeah, that's exactly that. I mean, he's played just about every game for a couple seasons now for us.
Yeah.
That takes out a lot on a player. And center back is just one of those positions where when you're on the decline, it really shows because you're that last line of defense. When you start making mistakes, then goals start getting conceded, and that's it shows. I'm sure he has another season, maybe even two at this level. I don't necessarily think that should mean that he should be a starter every week. I think I've said this before, but there is, going to be a time very soon where we need to start phasing him out and bringing in O'Brien or somebody else. To form a new partnership with Branthwaite, who I really hope we end up keeping and signing to a new contract. And speaking of Branthwaite, he's our next man on this list, Jared Branthwaite. Quinn, do you want to start us off, or do you need a second? I'm happy to talk, Jared. I love Jared.
No, I love Jared. I can talk about Jared. I think he's been good. I think he also had he had moments under Deitch where it was tough to watch after coming back from injury. I think it took him a long time to get back to where he was at previously, like last season, but it's been good to watch. Some confidence, a moment here or there of shakiness, but not to the extent of Tarky.
Yep.
Rating, I'll go 7.2. Solid.
7.2. Ooh, specific.
I feel like I gotta go specific because I could put a lot of people at 7s. I could put a lot of people, but I think he's played overall pretty well. Best game. Best game. This one's hard for a best game.
I'll give you a second to think.
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say worst game. No, I need a minute to think more about his performance.
That's fine. Yeah, I think Jared has had his game stepped up another level since Moyes has come in. I think that he is starting to develop into a fantastic cover center back, a center back who is sweeping up in the back line, not necessarily the one who's pushing himself forward to stop a striker or to be involved. I think he cleans up so well. I think he's a fantastic player. It's good to see him getting back to his best again. I really, really hope he signs a new contract. I think we'll offer wages that will be competitive. I think he knows that he starts week in, week out here, which helps him helps him with his development, helps him with his international career, knowing that he's playing every week. I really hope in my heart of hearts this team kicks on and Branthwaite's here for another 2 to 3 years, hopefully 3 or 4. But that's maybe wishful thinking. It just depends on what this team does. I would say he's been an 8 out of 10 personally. I think he's stepped up his game enough and been enough of a leader without necessarily making mistakes that lead to goals. I think again some of the hesitancy in his play sometimes comes from playing next to a James Starkovsky and even a Mikolenko who's not always the best on the ball. I think that causes him to have to second guess some of his decisions. But he had a fantastic assist against Leicester. He's seemed to have found a new level of passing that he maybe is not necessarily. He's always been a really good passer of the ball with both feet, but it seemed to shown quite a bit more. I think he's been giving that responsibility under Moyes to be a bit more of a distributor. Best performance, I would say Leicester. I think the assist, I think overall he was just very commanding. Leicester, very, very weak team, not worried about him, worried about them in terms of them staying up or getting results. You have to look through it through the lens of this team that is just really not performing this season. Worst game again. Let's just lump on United for worst game for everybody because like there's not too many that have had bad individual performances otherwise. Again, just a collapse where you're 2-0 up is always going to look bad.
Yeah.
I don't think I don't think he was necessarily great in the derby either.
I think he was great. I think that would have been
your best, the derby. Interesting. Okay.
My worst, I would say, after looking at like the games, I don't think he played great against Brentford.
Tough. Brentford's a tough opponent, man. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah. But anyway. Yeah.
Next whistle. So we get to our midfield now. Did you have more you want to say about Braithwaite real quick?
Nope. I'm excited to talk about Gana Gay.
Gana Gay. Idrissa Gana Gay. 10 out of 10.
I'd give him a 9.4.
Yeah.
Like he is just solid. I have talked about how much I love him and how he is just one of those players that we would miss. Like he is so good at defending. His game IQ is so high. He is a miss in the midfield if we don't have him. And like I think he brings some calm to that middle three when we really need it, some stability, and he's consistent. I would just say overall he's consistent. He's also consistent of absolutely drilling the ball through the uprights, and he could be kicking field goals one day after he's done. But
Gana Gay, that's crazy. Wait, what are you talking about? When did he do that?
Oh my gosh! How many times when the ball comes outside the box?
Are you talking about like when he skies a shot?
Yes,
he's so much better about that.
I would agree, but he's still every time he puts his I'm like, here it goes. It's not.
Yeah, I don't think he even really does that much anymore. Honestly, I can't remember the last time he's taken a big.
It's not as much. He's getting closer to the actual goal, but
sure. Yeah.
Best game, I think he played great against Tottenham.
I would agree.
And I think he played pretty well against United. I don't think he was one of the like poor performers against United. Maybe the Palace game or the Brentford game. I don't think he had great stuff. But
say which one was the worst because I think he's played very, very consistently well.
Yeah.
Anyway,
those are my thoughts.
Yep, I would agree. 9 out of 10 for Gana Gay. The guy has really just come out and found that level that he always has. He's this. We say it every week. He's the guy who gets better with age. Best game for me.
Fine wine.
Yeah, like a fine wine. He was really good against Tottenham. He was very good against Brighton. It's actually going to be Brighton for me, considering how much he led that midfield when we were down to 10 men with those injuries at the end. How everybody went to him at the end to celebrate with him. I think that was a game where he really, put his stamp down in terms of like he was making this midfield his. And the fact that, we talk about it, he loves the club. Like the guy will come out and just fight for Everton in the media, who will fight for them on the pitch, off the pitch. Like it means a lot to have a player like that. Worst performance. I don't know. It's hard to pick one performance where he wasn't like fantastic for what he's needed to do. He was good in the derby. I mean, I don't know. I don't think I could pick one, honestly, if I really think about it. He's just been so solid overall. I will not have a worse performance for Gana Gay, which is fine because next we're going to talk about his best buddy in midfield, James Garner. James Garner finally getting a chance back in the squad with Mangala out for the season and back at Lyon. James Garner has come in and been a really, really solid midfield presence. I would say a 7.5 out of 10. He's had a couple of good assists. He's been able to distribute the ball well when he's had time to get on it. He puts in a good tackle. He doesn't commit stupid fouls, get himself sent off. Good passer, good touch, good technique. It's good to have a player like him in midfield who's, is a solid 6, 7 out of 10 every week. Not 6, but a 7 out of 10 every week, I should say. I think he was very good against Leicester. Had that fantastic through ball for Beto, and just in general, it keeps that midfield ticking. I I don't think he had his best game in the derby or against United. Um, different midfields, tougher midfields for sure. Ones where he isn't going to have the same amount of time on the ball or the same, um, the same type of midfielders he has to go up against. He's going up against very strong, technical midfielders who can kind of play around him rather than trying to force their way through.
Yeah, I would agree. I think I'd probably give him a like 7.1 rating. Consistent. Well, I don't know if I would say consistent because I do think, but my worst game for him would be the derby, and United would probably be a close second, like you said. Just not his strength in those types of situations. I do think his best game was Leicester, and good to see him kind of rebirthed into the team over the past like month and a half, and I think he's done well overall. But I do think in some of those bigger games where he's not got as much time on the ball, I think you see some of his weak spots. So,
yep. He's a good midfield option, though. It's good to have, considering we don't have the experience and pedigree of Mangala. I think it's very good that we have him. So moving forward from James Garner, we're going on to the much maligned yet loved Abdoulaye Doucouré. Abdoulaye has had a bit of a renaissance as well under David Moyes. He's scored finally. Feels like it's been a long time. He scored a couple goals, which is great to see because he had not scored at all up to this point in the season. He's finding that role that he had playing alongside Calvert-Lewin again, where he is just being a bit of a wrecking ball and having that energy up front and helping with the press and helping instigate that press. Same limitations in his game, but we're starting to see a bit more of that physical side of Doucouré that maybe we thought was fading from him a bit. It's going to be hard for me to give anybody under a 7 out of 10. I would say he was just a 7 out of 10 so far. He's got a couple goals. Energy's been good. It's just, with him, you always like worry when he gets the ball where the breakdown's going to be, if he's going to make the right decision. He's had a couple. I think he was very good in the derby. I think he was very good against Leicester. Very good at, and like if Leicester is probably the best technically I've ever seen him play, mostly because he just didn't have anybody pressing him. He had all the time he needed to take the touches he needed, as most of the team did. Worst performance, tough. Maybe Tottenham because he didn't score, but he still pressed well. Maybe Brighton because he didn't score but he still pressed well. Like it's a tough one. I don't know if he was particularly good against Brentford either. I think it was just one of those games for him where he's not gonna get in the positions or be able to receive the ball in places where he's gonna be able to do the things he can do with it. Quinn, what do you guys say? You're muted.
Sorry about that. I think he's been things going on in the house. I'm like, just in case.
You're good.
I think he's been average. I mean, slightly above average, I guess, for where he's been, but I would still say like a 7 on the dot. I think he played really well against United. And I personally don't think he played great against Liverpool. I don't think he played awful, but I think he made more of a presence because of all the things that people were excited to watch afterwards. But so I think that made it memorable. Yeah, but I don't know if he played really great during the game. I think that would be one of my games on the lower end for him.
Sure.
He played great against Leicester as well. I would say so. It's been good to see, and it's great that we won our first game without him in the team. I mean,
that was so important. Holy cow! Anyway, really important. Okay, my favorite player in this Everton team, Iliman Ndiaye. Obviously, he's not played since the derby and probably won't play until we're going to say April. I'm going to assume. We only have 2 games in March anyway, so it's not that big of a deal. But yeah, I mean, Illy, I think, has also stepped up to another level, and that's mostly just because he's finally being targeted as a player. We need to get the ball more often than not. I think that was very evident against Tottenham. By the way, 9 out of 10 for Ilman and Die. He's just been good. You see how much we miss not having, when he's not in the team, how much we miss that creativity, that fear that he sparks in the opponent, how much manpower they have to dedicate, how much time they have to dedicate to him, because he is just an electric player. And when he comes back and when he's here next season, God willing, I think we're going to continue to see this growth in him as a player. He's still a very young guy, still has a lot of his career, still has a lot of room to grow, and he's a great dribbler, a good passer, a good finisher. He's got so many great qualities to his game. It's going to be so exciting to see him work on his decision making and be able to improve those qualities even more. His best game, man. Oh, I don't want to say Brighton just for the celebration, but that was good. I would probably say Tottenham, because of that great goal, because he was just on fire all game against them, just giving who's their right back, that Pedro Porro, just the fear the whole game. Worst game, I mean, I guess I'll say the derby because he went off injured. Like, come on, man, why are you getting injured? You kicked the ground and got injured. Like, come on, I love you. Don't do it again. Yeah, it is a tough one. 2 players this season have kicked the ground and got injured.
I know. Yeah, I think I agree with a lot of what you said. I'd give him like an 8.7. I think in some way an 8.7.
8.7. Okay.
Yeah. This sounds like a negative, but it's more of a like praise to the rest of the team. Is like Ndai stood out so much for so much of the season, and I don't think he stood out as much, not because he hasn't performed, but because others have stepped up, which is refreshing to see.
Yeah, awesome.
I think his best game was Leicester. I would say, yeah, I mean, not really no worst game, but a bummer to watch him go out in the derby. But he's an exciting player. Hopeful for what the future is with him, especially as like the team has gotten better and stepped up around him. It will be exciting at some point to see him back.
Yeah,
with the team.
It'll be exciting to see what we decide to build around him.
Yeah.
Going forward in the summer, what pieces we feel like are going to help him showcase, whether he gets a chance to move to the middle. I think that's probably what I'm most excited for, is what we decide to do to build around him. We're assuming that we sign like a Charlie Alcaraz.
Yeah.
So maybe that plays in the middle. He stands to the left and he gets this chasm to operate in, because it feels like that's what ends up happening, is he has so much space out there. And then he draws people to him, and that opens up the middle for a player like Alcaraz. We'll have to see. Yeah. Very excited to see those two play together eventually. Moving on from Illyman and Die, we have Jasper Lindstrom. Jasper has been a regular starter for Moyes. Has not scored or assisted so far this season. Has come a bit closer since Moyes came in, but is still finding it difficult. He has worked hard. He has offered some crossing and some options going forward. I like Jasper a lot. I think he is probably one of the weakest links in the team right now, unfortunately. He is one of the few players I will give him a 6 out of 10, 6.5 out of 10. He's stepped up. He's been good. He's been solid. But he is somebody that you can kind of see. I don't think he has the quality to continue to play in the Premier League. I really hope we don't consider signing him permanently. He will probably continue to start throughout the season. That's fine, because he works his butt off, and that's very important for where this team is right now. His best game, he was good against Tottenham. He was pretty good against Palace. He probably should have had an assist at least against Palace when Beto. He put in a couple of good balls for Beto that Beto didn't score. Worst game, I don't remember him being particularly good against Brighton or against United. So yeah, Jasper, I'm glad he's here. I'm glad that we have the workhorse option. Just that he is one of those players that we will definitely need to upgrade on in the summer.
Yeah, I would say I agree. I'd give him like a 6.5, 6.7. He reminds me a lot of Jack Harrison, I would say, and like a total workhorse, and but the end product and quality isn't really there. But you can tell that he really cares. He really wants it. He really wants to work, and so you can't fault the kid for trying. But I would say his best game was the Tottenham game, by far for his games. I would say the rest of the games all seem to be similar to me, where it's like a 6-ish performance where he plays. Yeah, it plays like 60, 70 minutes and does the job, but doesn't do the job, So
typically gets subbed off for Ashley Young or somebody.
Yeah.
Yep.
Anyway.
Wise words. Well, now we get to talk about Beto. Oh, man. 10 out of 10. Honestly, he will give you the one player you give it 10 out of 10. He's come in. He's found form. He's scoring goals. He's confident. He's learning his position. Definitely just an incredible and really quick amount of improvement to his game, playing to his strengths, which we haven't done all season, giving him opportunities to run in space and to counterattack. His unconventional way of holding up the ball, he never seems to want to head a ball down. He just takes it on his chest. You see him, he'll get that ball and he'll just lean his big chest forward and just chest it down to somebody. He does that at least 3 or 4 times a game. I love to see that because I love to see a player make use of what they have to be able to make something work. His best game, good finish in the derby, good finish against Palace. I don't know. I'm probably
what a great problem to have.
Yeah, I'll probably say the derby just because I think he really only had the one opportunity in that game and he scored it. In terms of like a good clear-cut opportunity, I think against Palace he should have had at least one more. That's why I don't want to say that was his best game because I think he should have scored again. I don't think, and he had a goal against United, but I don't think he was particularly good, especially in that second half. I would say he was probably pretty poor against Brentford as well, obviously because he should have scored like a zillion times. That is his worst game for sure, is Brentford. But it's one that we get to say we'll put behind us. We didn't lose. We still got him in the positions he needed to be in, and that's only encouraging that we're continuing to be able to find him.
Yeah, I would say, oh gosh, he's another. Yeah, him and Ganagay are my two, like in the 9s. I'd say like 9.5. Yeah, we'll go 9.5. That feels high with actually how poorly I feel like he played against Brentford. But
really
I would say Brentford is by far his worst game since this has started, in my opinion. Maybe the first game wasn't great, like the Brighton game wasn't great, but
I would agree with that.
I thought he played great against Leicester and against Crystal Palace, both of those games. I think the reason I would choose Leicester was it was like the spark. You could see that, like,
that's a good point.
Building confidence of he hadn't scored and then to score 2, and you could just see like his body language changes, his energy changes, his confidence changes. So I think that I'll just go that game for that reason, but I think they were good.
I can respect that. Yep. So now we're going to talk about some subs and some players who have gone out injured. We'll start with Calvert-Lewin. Really, I feel bad for the guy that he got injured. Obviously, it's given Beto the chance to show that he can play at this level, which is probably really important because who knows where his Everton career was going to go after this season if he didn't get that opportunity. Now, I think it would be hard to consider him leaving because of the option that he now offers as a player. Calvert-Lewin, he came in, he got the goal against Tottenham, and then unfortunately has been injured and got injured against Brighton, and that's all we've really seen of him. I think that I think that he was going to start finding some form under Moyes. Who knows? You could have been scoring the same amount of goals or more. We know that he tends to fluff those one-on-ones, but I'd say a 6.5 out of 10 for Dom. Since Moyes came in again, we really only just see the one game, but I wanted to talk about it because he scored. Because I think the conversation I'd like to have is he somebody that we should offer a contract? If there was an inkling that he would take a contract, is it something that we should do?
Oh man, gosh, I have mixed feelings because I really like Dom, and then I really get disappointed in Dom. So I feel like the tension of that. I don't think I would offer him a new contract at this point. Because I also don't think he wants to be number 2. So I think he'd leave anyway. So maybe that's like my bias of what I think he would do.
Yeah.
I thought he played well against Tottenham, and I thought if we're going since Moyes came in, I don't think he played great against Villa. And then obviously he got injured
because he should have scored, but
yeah.
He should be on an 8-match unbeaten run, really, but that is what it is.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't think I would sign him on a new contract. Maybe a year. Like, do you give the guy a year? Maybe. Would he sign a year contract? Probably not.
No. I think from what I've heard from Danny, I think it's the big issue with Dom is that he wants to be in a bigger city. He wants to be in a London or in like a Milan. I think Danny's alleged that's because of his partner, who's like a fashion model. But I also just think that he probably wants a little bit more money than maybe we're willing to offer him. Because he's a little bit of a higher value on himself and probably knows this is his last chance at a really big contract. He is 27 years old now, dealing with a pretty tough injury record. I only ask because he is the model of a striker that I think fits Moyes well of being a target man, and is probably one that we're going to be looking for, I assume, in the summer. Somebody that fits that model a bit more than Beto does, who's more of like a, playing on the shoulder of the last center back sort of player and trying to get into open space. Obviously, he's learning a bit more of that hold up play part of his game. It sucks for Dom that he got hurt. Hopefully, he'll get another at least 1 or 2 more appearances this season to say goodbye to the Everton faithful. He's been very frustrating. I think he's had some purple patches in it, but for the most part, he's been pretty frustrating over his Everton career, missing a lot of good chances. And that's unfortunately going to be his legacy. He's like our second highest Premier League goal scorer, which probably says more about this team and the players we've had than anything. But that's okay. We just hope that we can find better going forward. Next up on the list is a newcomer, loanee Charlie Alcaraz. Been a real piece in this midfield for the club, I think, so far, and a player that has really taken to Everton really quickly. I think when you see a player come in on loan and after 2 to 3 weeks say, "Yeah, I want to stay here," like I'm pretty sold on this place. I think that says a lot about the kind of player he is and how that fits Everton. We tend to be a club that falls in love with our loan players pretty quickly because they come in and get enamored. That honeymoon period of being in this atmosphere of Goodison and hearing those fans sing your name after like 2 games. I've really enjoyed his work rate. I think getting the winner against Palace was awesome. Getting the assist as well. That was definitely his best game. Worst game, I don't know. I can't say he was.
It's hard when he hasn't played a ton. Like he hasn't played a ton.
Exactly. Yeah. I think against Brentford, he likes to do this thing where he wants to just shoot from 30, 35 yards. When we have other options, especially, it's like, it's cool. Like I get it, he'll eventually score one of those and feel justified in doing it. But hopefully that's something that if we end up signing him permanently, Moyes will kind of be like, look, let's take this out of your game a little bit. Let's try to get you getting your head up and then finding these passes, because that's where your strengths, that's where the opportunities are going to lie for you. Say he's a 7.5 out of 10 for the minutes that he's played so far. And a player that should buy personally. I think Argentina international, young guy, likes the club already, and the fee seems to be fairly nominal in terms of what a fee for a player like that would be these days. So I think it's kind of a no-brainer that we get that permanent signing in for him.
Yeah, I agree. I don't really have much to add. I think he's been great. Yep,
cool. Jack Harrison, still no goals or assists this season, has had a bit more of a starting role now that Ndiaye is out. Definitely he's playing with a lot more confidence. I think that showed against Palace. I don't remember him being all too impressive against Brentford. He is, like you said, in that Jasper Lindstrom role of kind of just being a hardworking winger who I'm really happy to see get the chance to play on the left side, but I think I expected a bit more. And maybe that's just because we don't play like Leeds do, where it's this very fast, getting the ball into open space quickly and not worrying about your defensive duties as much. I think he's asked to track back a lot, which is good, and he does it. Yeah, 6 out of 10 for Jack.
Yeah, I'd give similar. I'd say similar to Jesper. Of he does a job but doesn't get a job done. Is how I would like describe
That's a good
him.
way to put it. I like that. Yep. Tim Eric Boonham. He's only had cameos since Moyes came in. I think he's looked fairly competent. He's been able to come in when there's tired legs on the pitch and be strong and a driving force in midfield without exactly having to do too much. Got the assist for Tarkovsky's goal in the derby, so he's made some goal contribution as well. I like him as a player. I'm interested to see how his development goes if he ever becomes a player that can develop into a starting midfielder for us. Obviously, he did at the beginning of the season, but there was a reason that we were losing a lot of games, and he was getting gassed, and he has some growing to do. This is his first year actually getting a good amount of senior football, and has dealt with a bad injury through it. So I'm looking forward to seeing him the rest of the season and hoping that he gets more opportunities to improve and can hopefully be a player that can turn into a starting midfielder for us.
Amen. Yeah, hasn't played a lot, hasn't played a ton of minutes, but hopeful for the future.
Yep. Ashley Young is actually a surprise 8 out of 10 for me. I think his little substitute role that he has right now fits him so well. He is now not having to play 90 minutes at 39 years of age at right back in a very demanding position in a team that defends a lot. I think he's able to come in and just kind of be a bit of that, the experience, the old head who comes in and just is making the right decisions, putting in the right balls, was very instrumental in that equalizer against Liverpool. I really like that role. I really appreciate the fact that he is such, in terms of football terms, an old guy, but he's playing smarter, and playing this more advanced role takes some pressure off him, I think. And again, it's kind of just seems to be the wingers that we have now. There's more not defensive minded, but they're tracking back, they're keeping their positions, they're not bombing forward. And I think he fits that role very well, especially as a substitute. I really enjoy that.
Yeah, I think this role is perfect for him at this stage in his career where, like you said, he's getting old. Like he's old. He's not even getting old. He is old. And so it's good to see him playing under, for the most part, like under 30 minutes, coming in, doing a job, being a good stabilizer on the field.
Being what we need in those moments.
Yes. So it's been good. Yeah, I would give him like a 7.6, 7.8.
Nice. So that's all our players. We'll just do just talk about David Moyes. If you want to give me a rating out of 10, how you think he's been, I think it's pretty easy. I think he's got like a 9 out of 10. Come in, really stabilized, been tactically aware, set this team up in more than just one way to play more than just one way. Excuse me. I think that's been awesome. The connection that the fans are being able to reforge with the club has been very important and flows through him. Because he has done something which very few Everton managers have done, and he's set expectations much higher.
Yes.
A lot of that has to do with
it's so refreshing.
I know it is. A lot of that has to do with the new owners. A lot of that has to do with the repairs of the financial troubles that the club has had, and the uncertainty of the future of the club. I think that has allowed a lot of breathing room. And there's a lot of room to grow under David Moyes. Whether he's not going to be, in my opinion, he's not going to be the one that is like, oh, we're going to finish fourth under him. Who knows? I mean, who knows? Because the way the romantic side of football works, who knows? But very happy to have him back. I pushed for him for a while. And
you did. I didn't. And I've said I'm wrong. I don't need to say it again. And I think most people who were in my shoes agree with me. So that's all I got to say to that.
Maybe Davey Moyes, he's got red hair, but we don't care. All right. Yes. So enough about the players. Let's talk very quickly about Wolves coming up. Very interesting game. Playing at the Molineux. Wolves are 10 points behind us in 17th place, 5 points ahead of the relegation zone. They are probably eyeing this game up as one that they can win to help push them away from the relegation zone. And we are probably saying this: we win this game, and we are definitely safe.
Yeah,
that's 13 points above. That's 13 points above them. That's 16 points above Ipswich, depending on the results. So, I'm looking forward to it. I think it's one that we can definitely win. I think them missing Cunha is going to be massive. That's a huge, huge opportunity for us to take this game to them. I'm really hoping we do. I can't think of any players we'll have back, and Dye definitely won't be ready.
No.
I can't imagine the lineup's going to change very much. You just got to hope that Beto can have a fantastic game and bully them a bit. You've got to hope that I don't know if Decore or Alcaraz will start, but I personally hope that it's Alcaraz who starts, because I think he will come in and have that bit more of a direct attacking impetus that we'll probably need at the beginning of this game. The main thing, we just need to show up. We need to want it more than them from the opening whistle. And if we can get, 1 or 2 goals within the opening 30, I think we can go on and win 4-0 again against them.
Yeah.
I think that's definitely a possibility, especially with them missing Cunha.
Mm-hmm.
They've been definitely improved under Vitor Pereira. They've got 4 wins, but they've also lost 6 times under him. I believe, I have to double check. I believe they scored in every game under him. Let's see. No, they didn't score against Arsenal, and they didn't score against Newcastle or Nottingham Forest. Other than that, they've scored in every game under him. So we'll see. I mean, they're missing their talisman right now, which is going to play into our hands a lot, as long as we don't make any dumb mistakes and we just do what we need to do and score the chances that we get. And I think we win this one comfortably.
I agree. I think this is a game we should win. We can win. And I'm excited about it, because it's a game where it's not like we can scrappy win 1-0. I really think we could win this game comfortably. So
I think there's an opportunity for us to show a bit more class in them and to kind of show the side that we want to be and that we can be. So here's to that. My score prediction is 2-0. Quinn, what you got?
I'll go 3-1.
3-1. She thinks we concede. Loser. All right.
We've conceded a lot.
Yeah, I know. And just a quick touch on some transfer rumors. We've been linked with left back Theo Hernandez from AC Milan, who seems like he's on the exit from there. He is a very, very highly rated player. He's 27 years old. It's an interesting link. I can't imagine there's too much substance to it, but you never know. It's so early now. Who knows? We've also been linked with Thomas Souček and Kufal. I think that's how you say his name, from West Ham. They're big nose for me. I think.
Yep,
Souček
same. Big nose for me too.
Yeah,
big nose for me.
Like,
and unfortunately, probably the most realistic of all the rumors at the moment.
Yeah, I don't know, but it's only come from like this ex-West Ham United employee Twitter account who's really been pushing it. I really hope it doesn't happen. I hope, especially we should not be paying really any money for a 31-year-old, but no more than like a couple £1 million. Yeah, just not for me. And then there's been a link to Richarlison. Yeah, right. It was, I think it's from Graham Bailey, who's the gentleman, the journalist who broke it, basically saying if like the club will be open to bringing him back if he wants to come back.
Yep.
I mean, look, that's like the most romantic thing we could think of right now is Richarlison coming back. I actually think he'd be a fantastic Moyes player too. I think he would be really, really freaking good under David Moyes. I don't know where exactly he'd play, because he'd like to play in the left, and that's where Ndiaye plays now. Whether he ends up playing up top for us, regardless, I think he'd be a fantastic Moyes player.
Amen. Gosh, I love Richy.
We all do. And it would be a very romantic thing to have him come back and
play in the new stadium.
Yeah, play at the new stadium. Well, I guess we'll have to wait and see. Obviously, we would love to have him back. All right, so some quick questions that we've had. Start with this one. Kevin Thelwell is reportedly leaving. Do you want to continue with the director of football model? Quinn, thoughts?
I don't have strong thoughts, because I think it works sometimes and I think it doesn't work other times. So it depends who you bring in and what does Moyes think in terms of working with a director of football. It feels so subjective to me. But
I think a lot of people see David Moyes as basically director of football. I think that's why that question is being asked, because a lot of people said, well, when Moyes' contract runs out, make him director of football, make him like part of the administration team of the club. It's like, yeah, I mean, I don't know. That might work in theory, but in practice, I don't know. It's different, It's kind of like when we brought in Steve Walsh, who was just chief scout to be director of football. You have him now negotiating with large amounts of money. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yep. Yeah, but I do trust David Moyes. If we end up not getting a director of football, I trust David Moyes to be a fantastic steward of this club with the money, a fantastic steward of this club, and bringing in the right kind of player. So there's no issues there. But I think I would prefer a director of football model just because I just want to have another head in that boardroom with this coaching team to be able to have these thoughts and be able to, just push it and take a little bit of that pressure off boys. I think that does take pressure off a manager. So he hasn't have to have can you focus on the team.
Do it all.
Focus on getting being a part of getting in the right players and then being more involved with this team.
Totally.
Continuing on that fell well since we want to reminisce about him. Obviously, I guess we don't want to talk about Neil Maupay because Lampard pushed for him. I hate him. Who's been the worst and best Thelwell signing? Man, I didn't take the time to look back at when he came in and kind of who we signed. I think there are cases to be made. For me, it's probably Element and Die is probably his best signing. Did he bring Ghana Gay back? Was he part of that?
I'm trying to look to see when he came back.
You're trying to see when he came back, yeah. Because then you need to look at what players came back. I don't know. I'm going to go with Element and Die just because he's like a future of this club. He's the current star and really the future star for the foreseeable future. Worst signing. He didn't sign Michael Keane, but let's say Michael Keane. No. I mean, we've had some bad signings. I think you look at maybe some of the loan signings we've had.
Just a lot of wasted loan signings. What was the guy from Tottenham that I'm blanking on right now?
Tottenham? Oh, Dele Alli?
No. Oh gosh.
I don't know. Somebody like Dan Juma is probably a pretty bad one for him, in all honesty. I think it's right for him to go on because this new ownership want to have their own people in. He signed. I know he signed Maupay, but I think the question is specifically framing that Lampard was one who really wanted to sign him and push for that money to be spent on him, whereas Thelwell might have been like, well, I don't know, like we don't really need him. He's probably not good enough. And Lampard said, no, I want him at my team. And then he comes in and scores 1 goal in 40-something matches. And then wants to talk shit about the club. Like, what the heck, dude? God, I hate that guy. Anyways, all right, moving on. Beto's stock is at his most high right now. Would it be mad to consider selling him in the summer? Easy, yes. No, don't. Good strikers are hard to find. He's turning, his game is developing. There's no reason to let him go.
Yep, agreed.
Nope. And not much of an injury record either. It seems to really enjoy playing for the club. He's a passionate guy. I think he fits everything well. No, there's no way we sell him. And if we did, we'd be wanting to make money on him. We're not going to sell him for a cut rate price.
Yeah, amen.
Last question, weird one. I don't know how to really answer this. Who would win in the tag team matchup of Jake O'Brien and James Garner versus Michael Keane and Charlie Alcaraz? I like how they did the big little thing here. 6-6
Jake O'Brien and James Garner win. I think.
I know. Well, I agree because I think Alcaraz. I don't know. I think Jake is like
what an interesting question.
Jake O'Brien boxed when he was younger too. I think so.
That's why. That's our reasoning.
Yeah, that's it. So those are our questions, y'all, and that's all we really have for today. We appreciate you listening. Up the Toffees, y'all. We have Rules in a few days. Let's get those 3 points. Let's keep these good times rolling. Let's really push ourselves away from this relegation zone even more. Massage these fears, and really, all I'm really looking forward to for the rest of the season is trying to get a result at Anfield. I would love to make that happen. It's a few weeks back. It's not until April, so who knows?
We will see,
but we'll see. So, thank you, everybody. Enjoy your night. Up the Toffees.
Good night, y'all. Up the Toffees.
Good night. Up the Toffees, and we will see you soon. Up the Toffees.